Hey everybody, it's EK from EKGormanDesigns.com, and I am coming in today because it's Friday, and that means it's time for another Creepy Cute Chronicles. This is the 45th one, and I am making a super simple mixed media canvas with the digital image that comes with today's free newsletter from Oddball Art. I'm going to start by taking some black gesso and just applying it around the edges of my 5x7 frame. Now I will tell you I'm a moron. Many of you know that. I didn't lay the mat down in which to protect my surface, and then I dropped the canvas because, yeah. So, Lawn Fawn, thank you for making a chamois that also cleans up paint very nicely. I appreciate it. So, finished painting not only the edges, but the sides of the 5x7 canvas. And then I pulled out the digital stamp, which I had blown up to be pretty large. And I colored it with my colored pencils. Now, I'm just using some ombre effect of grays. I'm starting with the darkest and I'm working my way down to the lightest. Doesn't really matter what kind of colored pencils you're using. Here I'm using my polychromos, but really, like your Crayola ones would work just fine with this. Is not fancy schmancy colored penciling here. This is basically I said it before, it's an ombre. I'm going from darkest to lightest, and I'm just very softly working my way down, because what I don't want to happen is these ghosts to appear gray. They need to be white ghosts, because ghosts are white. Don't we all know that? Or at least ghosts that look like they're draped in sheets always are white. But I want them to look three-dimensional and as if they have movement, so I needed to add shading. Thus the gray pencils. And I think I managed to keep them looking very white. Yay me! As you can see, I'm holding my colored pencils really by the end of the pencil so that they're really loosely colored instead of I'm not pressing hard at all. It's very subtle. Anyway, got the image colored to where I want it. So I pulled out my matte medium, which is a really great, I use it all the time to glue stuff. I use it to seal stuff. It's great. If you're not familiar with matte medium, it's a phenomenal product. Multiple brands make it. This one is a very watery version of matte medium, which is why I love it so much. And I'm going to take my palette knife and just kind of press out excess matte medium from underneath the paper. Now, one of the really cool, annoying things that's happening here is the paint's not quite dry because I'm impatient. Or the gesso's not quite dry. So you're getting some of that black edging around the ghost, which actually, it was annoying at the time, but in hindsight, I'm like, okay, it worked. It adds visual interest, and it keeps it from looking too perfect. One of the hard things about taking paper, especially cardstock, and gluing it on top of a canvas the way I've done here, where it's a large section of the canvas is covered by a piece of paper, is to make it look transitionally smooth. I always put too much matte medium down, and I always scrape it off, and just, in this case, I didn't have anywhere to put it, so the back of my hand became the perfect palette. I wiped off the excess bit of matte medium, kind of edging around the frame, because I didn't want to actually have texture from the matte medium. And then I dried it, because again, seriously impatient human being here. Do not like waiting for things to dry. And when I can heat set it without cooking it, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Now I've pulled out my Prima rust paste. These are a gritty paste that are designed to work together to make something look like rust. Thus the name rust paste. When I use the rust paste, I always start with the darkest color first, which is this deep dark brown. It probably has a more formal color than that, but I don't have it sitting here in front of me, and it's a dark brown. And it is hands down the grittiest of the three colors. It's almost like if sandpaper were liquid, this is it. This is what sandpaper is. There is coarse grounds in it. It's fantastic, and I don't imagine you being able to paint this on with a brush. I'm sure somebody very skilled out there can do this. But I just take a palette knife and scrape it onto where I want it to go. I'm telling you, today's project is super easy. When you have a cool medium like this, these rust pastes, it's so simple to create an interesting picture. Like I said, one of the big problems here was I had a really big piece of paper and I almost filled the canvas with it. So now, to keep the transition between the canvas and the cardstock from showing, I'm using this heavy, thick rust paste to blend my edges and to keep everything from looking perfectly square, and it shouldn't be sharp, clean edges. Now I'm going to take the middle color here, and it's this, for lack of a better term, rusty red. And I'm not just laying it on top of the brown, I'm pressing it into the brown and letting my palette knife actually grab some of the brown that's already underneath it and go back over the red. So I'm wanting them to actually blend without mixing. I don't want to start transition between the two colors, because if you look at real rust and the kind that has texture, not just the slightly little rust, but like the ridiculously large amount of time rust, there is beautiful layers of color. Actually, rust is one of the most beautiful things if you take the time to really look at it. So I'm letting the brown and the red blend together. And again, I'm just using my palette knife to do this. Now that I've got, oh no, I decided that it was too round and too perfect, and I needed to drop in just a smidgen of dips. Now, the palette knife actually isn't going to serve me well here, so I pulled out a crummy paintbrush. This is one that I haven't taken as well care of as I should, to use the mustard color. Now, this is the least gritty of the three pastes. This you could legitimately paint on. When I'm doing the rust effect, I don't paint and I don't scrape it on, I pounce it on. I literally let the bristles of my brush do my work for me. And I just kind of tap it onto the gritty paste that's already established. And again, you can see I don't do it in all the spots, I do it sporadically, because again, if you look at rust, there isn't a rhyme or reason to it. It's organic, it's abstract almost. And that's the same kind of look I want to create with this frame. Now I've got my ghosts, and I need to do something special with them, because you can't put them in a world of cool rust and not do something like this. The color penciling alone is not enough. You gotta make the ghosts special. So I decided to make them special by making them glossy and three-dimensional. So I pulled out my Glossy Accents and just pooled in the reflective glue. If you've never used Glossy Accents, and I think at this point most of us have, but Glossy Accents dry with a really high shine finish. So it makes a ghost seem super shiny. On the second ghost, I left the bow tie unfilled. Unfilled? Mainly I left the bow tie not filled because I realized I didn't color the bow tie. And then I wanted the glasses to actually reflect slightly different than the ghost did. So I pulled out this pale, pale blue, the Sea Breeze Nuvo drops, and filled his glasses with it. So you can actually see that there's a difference between the ghost and his glasses. Now, my glasses didn't lay out as smooth as the Glossy Accents did, so I definitely tapped under the frame to help the Nuvo drops smooth out. Because I realized I forgot to paint the bow tie, I pulled out some high flow acrylics and just tapped in some paint. And of course, made sure I filled in the ghost's hand. Now, I wasn't crazy about the bow tie, so it needed the same kind of texture that the glasses and the ghost had. So I actually filled it in with some, White Blizzard Nuvo drops. And there you go, super fast, super simple, mixed media frame using some digital arts with high shine. Thanks for peeking in today. If you don't already subscribe to Oddball Art Creepy Cute Chronicles, do so today, because you will get this image for free. Thanks for watching, everybody, and until later, happy crafting.